Hey there, I thought now would be a pretty good opportunity to record a new video. So, let's start this off by explaining what has happened in the region since you saw it last. Not too much has happened down in this quarter of things, other than preparing a couple main roads in this tile. I don't think I've really done anything. Still have to rebuild this one. You might remember I mentioned it got corrupted in the last video. But I actually have made a pretty intense amount of progress with building out more tiles in the northern glacial valley area, which is, you might remember Jamaica was where the last video was cited. Yeah, I've sort of built out a little bit more of the region's highway network. Eventually, I'm not planning to develop the northern part of the region too intensively, but I do definitely want to have some kind of fair-sized settlement in this valley and another one over here. So I've got these two highways sort of heading off toward those sites. And this highway will probably curl around through the mountain pass over here, down through this valley, and then it will follow the coast here, I think, in order to take a turn north, maybe around the path of what looks to be a small valley carved by a stream around here. It'll be a steep route, but it'll be a connection to the exterior on the northern side of the region, which we don't have yet. So that's an interesting project, but it's for another time. For now, as you can see, I've built quite a lot in the way of new farms. Pretty much all this stuff, starting from these two tiles on northward, is new. And there are also some more farms in this tile and in another place or two around the region. And I've run into the point where I need to do more residential development in order to increase my agricultural demand if I want to keep building farms. So I figured now would be a good time to start expanding Jamaica further. Basically what I intend to do that is fill in this last corner of the first city tile here with more suburban residential development, and I think I will also build more residential stuff on the northern side of the city, sort of north of the rail line. Right now there's really not too much north of the rail line, just this tiny neighborhood here. And maybe some more stuff in the place of these farms on the eastern side of the tile as well. But I'm not really sure if I'm going to do that. We'll see how it goes when we enter the tile. Okay, here we are back in scenic Jamaica, where this highway looks to be conducting quite a bit of traffic since it was built in the last video. So there are a few things that I'll need to do to get this development really started, and one of the first is to build out some main roads, and I think I probably want to extend this one further. I don't know if I'll quite keep it straight, but yeah, I'll think about that for a moment. In the meantime, I feel comfortable just creating an intersection like that. And I definitely do want to leave it straight for at least some distance. That's so that just in case I end up upgrading the street going downhill to a road as well, I can do two lefts at that intersection. Can't quite right now, but it'll come in time. Yeah, so that is sort of the first area I want to develop. I still have to decide if I want to do all the actual road building on screen or not. I may just do it off screen because it can be fairly tedious, and when I do it there's a lot of prevarication involved. But yeah, I'll make that decision in due time, I guess. Meanwhile, I do want to figure out where these roads are going while on camera. Um, but, I'll do that in a moment because I just heard my phone went off. I have a text. Alright, I got that taken care of. So now, I did say I wanted to do some development on the northern side of the city over here. Now, one thing I might want to do in order to make that go a little bit more smoothly, in order that I can make more intersections sort of in the northern direction on the main drag, is to extend this avenue a bit further. So I guess I will try to do it the same way that I had it configured here. Well, first I'll figure out how many more intersections I want, and I'm thinking really not too much. In fact, I might as well make these fairly narrow blocks in this direction, and I guess I'll just have 3 more than I did before. Yeah, that sounds like it should be great. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to demolish that pretty far up. What does the sign say here? Approaching divided highway. Alright. So I'll replace that sign a little bit closer in a place where it'll be a little bit more useful, since I am changing where the divided highway starts right now. And this farm field, I think, is gonna have to go at least within the bounds of these few blocks. And I might as well get rid of these scraps of it as well. Looking good. Okay, so I might as well get around to expanding this avenue now. Ooh, should probably turn it on to fixed time again. Now, I've got to think. Do I want to turn this into a TLA 5 or not? I'm kind of curious whether a TLA 5 to TLA 3 transition exists yet, because if there is one, I might be able to use that here, and it could be an interesting way to do things a little bit differently. So if it is there, it'll be under transitions here, and it'll be pretty easy to spot because it's a lot wider than most of these. TLA 3 to Av. Yeah, this diagonal stuff is not relevant. Road 4 to Av 4. Yeah. It seems like such a thing does not exist quite yet. So I'll just do the Av 4 to Av 2 transition like I had before. Just spin it around really quick. Alright. And I guess having it right there would be good. Now, as for what I think that the order I had to build things in was to put the what's it called, the Av2 starter piece first, but just to make sure that it all goes flawlessly and I'm not building anything multiple times, I think I'll try to flatten this area for just a little bit of a distance. Yeah, that should be plenty, it looks like. So let's swing that around, and the one we want, wait a minute, you actually have to tab to get the Av2, I guess. Alright, we got it there. Now let's go to RHW width transitions and get ourselves something a little like this. Alright, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So should be easy to hook everything up now. Although, with these additional intersections, I'm not sure if I want this dirt road connecting quite right there. It looks like the dirt road already has other connections to the main street grid, so I won't, and another connection to the highway up here, so I think it should be pretty safe to just leave it disconnected over there. Let's see if I can't make this any smoother. Yeah, that looks like a small improvement. Okay. So far, it's all looking good. Now, I've got to decide, do I want this to be a TLA 5 or not? I think a TLA 5 would be more useful, but the very fact that it's expanding from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road, and then it goes back to a 2-lane road rather fast, that makes me think that the extra capacity of the 5th lane, while it would see use, it might be just a little bit excessive. You know, it would encourage people to drive faster and whatnot. So, with that, I might as well expand. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna just do all the roadwork on camera, make this a bit of a longer video. Might as well build these blocks now and decide just how far I want this to continue. So this road that crosses the rail here is definitely a main route as it goes through town. Seems like it would be a good, well, as good a place as any at least to end things. So I think I'll have all of these streets just kind of continue on straight through over to there. And how many tiles was this again? 14. I might as well make another block of the same size. Yeah, so that would be over here. Let's see how long. That fits perfectly. That wonderful. Yeah, this road I might as well extend a little bit further south. I'm just kind of doing things on the fly here, because I'm trying to approximate how an organic road network in this area would grow. Of course, all these farm buildings are gonna have to go. They can't really be in the middle of the neighborhood after all. Alright, yeah, that looks like we're set as far as these upper blocks. Now, I could probably use another road just to split these two large blocks here. I think I'm going to opt for a twisty curvy one. Yeah, like this. There isn't too much reason to have the curve there, but it creates more road frontage and it gives the area a little bit more of a modern look, and it'll blend in with the crazy curvature I'm intending to do right over here. But before I do that, I probably want to upgrade this main road. It's fine as a street if it's just heading off into rural territory, but if it's going to not do that anymore, it's probably going to need a little bit more capacity. The other nice thing about upgrading roads like this to Road 2 from street is that you can articulate the curves more. which makes them safer and more realistic looking. So okay, I bet I could safely have this road extend all the way up to here without issue, and I'll likely extend it further with time if more development hits the area. So might as well fix up the slope here as much as I can, I guess. And well, there's really not that much I can do without kind of taking a terrain tool to it. So I guess I'll hold off on that for the moment. Now, I'm pretty inclined to not have a road right up against the rail line on this side the way I do on the other. So I guess I'll make the main roads entering this neighborhood sort of from there, and this one can continue on into. And there'll be another connection on there, but it won't be one of the main connections. Yeah, I guess it actually will for people headed from this area toward downtown, but yeah, you know. I'll make sure to make it a little bit less direct, just to make sure they don't overuse it. So the road is actually going to get fairly close to the rail line, at least for a moment there, but shouldn't be too much. And of course diagonal streets need to be completely flat, so this might be a bit tricky to get the two diagonals to work here smoothly. Alright. It'll add a bit more slope to the streets all over the neighborhood, which again, it just adds a little bit of character. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Does really take a moment to wrestle with these diagonal streets though. Alright, that's looking alright, but I think I can do a little bit better with the rail tool there. Yeah, that's what I like to see. Now over here, of course I can't build anything there, because I just redid the slope, but the diagonals are still at a different grade from each other. So over here, it might improve traffic flow just a little bit if I could move the street connection down a tile. Yeah, say to right here. And yeah, again we're running into slope issues almost immediately. But, well, we'll see if this will work. Something tells me it might not hook up at all now. Yeah. So wait a minute, I'm putting it on the wrong tile here. I actually want my street to curve along. No, that wouldn't even work. It needs to be along this tile. There's no way it can reach from there, so well, I'll give up on that dream pretty fast, I guess. Alright. I wonder if I can... Yeah, that's what I'm gonna need to do. Okay, yeah, this works fine. It just needed to raise the road too a little bit. And I did succeed in getting that tiny curve into place. So, with the fact that that's only an S-curve, I feel like I really ought to do a little bit more to add to the curviness of this area. In fact, you know what? I think I'm gonna get rid of that S-curve that I just fought for altogether and just make it straight again. Alright. I mean, it's a little bit close to that railroad crossing, but it shouldn't be too big an issue, right? Now over here, yeah, have the road make somewhat silly curves. Alright. Yeah, this should be just fine. So I am ready to get on to the next neighborhood, I think. Now, the important part here is to figure out exactly where I want the new development to end. So I think I want there to be development south of this street pretty much all the way until the next main road. But I want to gradually sort of bring things down toward the street as fast as possible. So one way to do that is massive curves, and I think that's the way that I'm going to try to do it. Just gonna take a bit of terrain modification here, it looks like, but it all seems to be manageable. Alright, so let's hook that up right away. And then try to keep a constant distance between these roads. Yep, just like that should be fine. And looks like over here I'm going to need to do a tight 90-degree curve. Okay. I think that this looks alright. It doesn't look that great, but it's alright. And it'll keep traffic on the main roads for the most part. Speaking of which, I could probably stand to upgrade this one. I think I'll do that in a hot second though. So now that this intersection exists here, I really feel like I might as well build another street connecting to it on the other side. Yeah, this is looking a little bit extreme here, unfortunately. So I think I will just have the street go out to connect to this one instead. And am I going to have to rebuild this diagonal, really? I guess so. Well, it was an easy fix at least. Maybe a good place to have the next street come through would be here. Yeah, that should work. So we'll have a bit of a tight curve there. And let me try to fix up the crazy slope that I created just a little bit ago, trying to extend this diagonal street further. Yeah, this seems natural enough. I guess there could be some uniform blocks in this area. It doesn't all have to be Olmsted-inspired suburbs. Not too many, though. I think I might just have these blocks, and then after that, that'll be the end of them. One way I can really ensure that I don't go back into building blocks just a moment from now is to build a nice curving road to sort of shape development around here. So let's see what I can accomplish like that. Yeah, having a road connect up here might be a really good idea. So I think I'll do that for now. Keep it dirt on the other side, though. Alright. Another quick curve from this road. And oof. Yeah, that road tile really did not want to build. I wonder why. So I'll just continue sort of in the same theme right here. And get myself another nice curving road right there. Well, make sure that I remember to make that curve a smooth one. Can I improve the slope at all? Barely. I guess that is a little bit of an improvement. And short stretches of the road like that, you don't want people going too fast anyway, right? I guess this could be a cul-de-sac here. Kind of a weird place for one, but I think it'll work fine. So, oof, that's quite a bit of distance that there is left to cover before we reach the end boundary road of this area. I might as well have another road against the rail line over here, just because why not? Alright, had to fight to get those diagonals in, but it's all good. Now another straight street might not be a bad idea at all right here. And in fact, it might as well curve right into that boundary road with a nice gentle curve. So over here, I guess I'll just try to sort of bisect this large area with a central arc. Yeah, that looks like a plan. Get it all connected up. Yep, that road can intersect. And maybe we could even have a similar thing on the other side. Yep, that looks pretty good to me. Huh. Yeah, it won't work to have a 5-point intersection there. That's too bad. That would be cool if it was possible. So I probably want to get rid of this grain elevator here. And then if I do that, yeah, that I'll be able to build a new street right here. And I'll do an S-curve like this. Perfect. And just for shits and giggles, I think I'll have another really short street right there. Alright. Very good, we're very close now. And I do kind of want to have an intentional disconnect in the street network as we go between these major blocks, just to try to push people onto the main avenue of the area. So that should explain why I'm going for what I am with this. And some urban development already exists around this area, which is pretty cool. It looks like there's a big farm building in the center of it though, which is definitely going to have to go. So I might as well extend that intersection there. And I'll have to figure out something to improve this setup as well. I'll do that in just a minute though. Might as well have the curve on this side be a little bit more gradual, and I'll leave a little bit more room between it and the rail line as well. Yeah, that looks alright. So then, we're kind of left with the problem of what to do with the center area. I'm thinking just hooking that street up like that should be sufficient for our purposes. In fact, I'm going to move it back a little bit. Just because it'll mean better traffic flow, and, you know, I can have bigger buildings on the bigger road that way, you know, basic stuff. Over here, though, I have absolutely no qualms about creating a new intersection. And I might as well have this sort of wind its way to a better spot as far as intersection placement. Alright, so next step, I suppose, is to dezone all the farmland. So should be a really quick job. Um, yeah, and as far as what I'm gonna zone in this area, it's probably gonna end up being a little bit lower wealth than the city center, which personally I don't think is super realistic, but there's not really a way to avoid that without having better services for your outlying areas than the center, which is just frankly really impractical. And once you build all those civic service buildings, they sort of visually take over your city, I feel like. So that's not something I really want to do, even though in real life, a place with a layout like a garden suburb like this, if judging by layout alone, it would likely command higher real estate prices. Alright, so we're beginning to, or not beginning to, we're almost done with the dezoning part of the job. Yep. It might turn out to be such an intensive job just building these northern neighborhoods, or heck, not even all of them. I want to do more over here too, that I might not even get to the western side of town in this video, but that'll be just fine if it turns out like that, I suppose. So over here, I want to keep things a little bit more simple, I guess. I'll just do a little continuation of the grid I was doing a minute ago. As far as my excuse for using a boring grid here, you could say it's intended to be a more transit-oriented area, maybe. And transit is always more efficient on orthogonal grid. Now as for how to hook up these blocks, I guess I'll have this street be the one to continue, and that should be good. Now there is might as well do the bus stops for these areas right now. Want to replace the one that was there. Now I probably want a new one along the main highway. Around here should be a good spot. And that is between those two. These blocks probably don't need anything more. Yeah, I'll just leave them a bit transitless. So that makes me a bit of a hypocrite in that I said it would be a more transit-focused area just a minute ago, but yeah, it's how the cookie crumbles, right? So there could probably stand to be another bus stop there. How about one around here, facing the main road? Should this be paved and not dirt? I guess there's no real problem with that. Yeah, so that's 3 along this main road here. Now let's make sure there's more along the other soon-to-be principal avenue for this area. Maybe we could start by putting a bus stop in the middle of this small grid right here. And another one right there. There. Yeah, that should work fine. Another one right there. Another one right around here. And already have one there. So now secondary locations for bus stops. Maybe we could use one right there. No, that's not that good actually. Over there should be fine though. And for this, I guess I could use it there instead. And while I'm at it, I really might as well have a new one, which I can put right here. It's a little close, but it's along a main route, so it should work just fine, I think. Now, I was also thinking I could use one here, but this intersection doesn't seem to want to really play friendly. Let's see if I can't fix that slope up at all. It's a small improvement. And I'll just have my bus stop right there. And I am probably good on bus stops with that. So, next step, I guess, and well, it could have been one of the first steps if I'd chosen to do it that way, is to figure out what I'm doing as far as the main road east-west through here. I think I might as well just extend it as far east as that for now. And it's going to connect over here to this curving street. That's going to need to be rebuilt, of course. So, one nice benefit about switching to fractional angle is that I can well, there's no real benefit from switching to fractional angle itself, but one nice benefit of switching to road 2 is that I can use fractional angle curves. And I do mention that a lot, but hey, it's a big one, right? So this is taking a while to drag out, so I think I'll just let the first stretch of road kind of start building itself for now. And yeah, now I've got to figure out what's going to happen with this kind of makeshift intersection over here. So I do want the new road to still give some amount of frontage to this commercial building right here. I guess the easiest solution to this problem would be to build something like this. Yeah, like that, and then just move the bus stop. Yeah, like that seems like it should be fine. And, this road is a city connecting road 2 in its own right, so I might as well upgrade it as well. Because it seems like realistically it would probably have yellow lines painted on it in real life. And while I'm upgrading it, I might as well upgrade the signage around it as well. I'll do that in a minute though. And again, I get to use a better curve than I was able to originally. Yeah, like that looks pretty good, I think. Now over here, can bring the curve way on over. In fact, I could make the entire curve fractional angle. I'll just need to rebuild that farm there. So that's a pretty good deal. And of course it sort of obsoletes that sign because there's no longer a 45-degree curve there. And this sign here also, I think it would be better just a few tiles down. So this farm is going to need to be demolished too anyway. Wow, very bumpy terrain around here. Maybe I could give it a bit more of a curved edge like that. And yeah, I'm gonna have to demolish this one. It's gonna take a moment to demolish, but heck, that's just how it is sometimes. Especially with these diagonals, right? Anyway, I pretty much almost already dealt with the diagonals completely. And there, it is complete. Yeah, I guess I'll just give it the same road frontage that it has already. Now, over here, I'm sort of inclined to make this a smaller curve. You know, just demolish the least amount of stuff. That's a very real life kind of sentiment to have. Okay, so just making sure the slope is the best I can have right there. So yeah, there are no turning lanes here, but hopefully it should be low enough traffic in general that they shouldn't really be missed. Okay, so that stuff I might as well rezone. In fact, might as well rezone it as commercial while I have this commercial center already kind of developing already. Now over here, might as well leave a blank sight line for that sign right there. In fact, I'm kind of inclined to not have houses fronting on the road at all from there until the rail line. So it'll make room for a few more trees, which is always nice. Alright, over here the zoning is looking good so far. And I'm really not too concerned about filling in all of these spots in the center here, because the more of them I leave, kind of the more room there is for trees, and those increase property value just as much as about anything already, so seems like a fairly good bet. Over here, I really don't like how this slope is looking. So what we are gonna do is use the rail tool to even things out as much as possible. Alright, so far so good.